Patrick, we'll get to the Twins, perhaps
Yes,
Bronny James at some point. I
Bronny,
don't
yes.
know. But I want to start with I feel like your calling late in life has been largely based on traffic patterns and
Yes,
and you complained this week about the fact that we have so much traffic when people actually aren't going into the
yes.
office. So what is your theory now that you
Now
were
I
just
have
sharing?
as I drove around stuck in various traffic jams
Yep.
yesterday for no reason, 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yep.
394 is backed up to 100. Why? 2 o'clock, there's no game going on, there's no nothing going on. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, backed up to 100. Once again, trying to go south at 5 o'clock. I might as well have been in Los Angeles, all 5 lanes. My new theory, so I'm thinking, you know what it is? All these people who say they're home at work are completely full of bull up to their ears. They're making like 4 trips a day to various places, and they check in on their Zoom about 30 minutes a day. They're all stealing money from the people they work for, and they're driving more now than when they went to work. That's my theory.
So you want them you're actually saying if we got people back into the office, we would
Yes.
minimize the traffic compared to
we'd
what's
have
happened.
we'd have less traffic because these
Wow.
people because listen, if you park someplace and it costs you money, you don't go move your car and go someplace, right? You don't want to have to go back into the
Yeah.
ramp and pay, $8 an hour again.
It's a genius.
So, but when you're home, you can just, I got to go to the store. The kids want to go here. Instead of figuring out with the neighbors how the kids are going to get someplace, you're now driving them. Then you come back, you get a cup of coffee, you say something ridiculous to the office back like you've been contemplating it all day, and then you get in the car and drive some other place. They're making 4 or 5 trips a day. None of them have daycare anymore, so they got to drive the little brats around because they're not because they're not paying for daycare. When the kids at daycare, they aren't driving around; they're going to work. That's yes, it's not staying home
Yeah.
is ruining the environment. It's causing way more gas fumes to go up into the. We're gonna, the ionosphere, ionosphere, whatever the hell it is. It's gonna be gone in 5 years if we don't go back to work here and get rid of the traffic. It's ridiculous. That's
Wood,
my theory.
Bravo.
Woodbury by me here is a mess, Pat. It
Yes,
is they got 94 West on the east
yes.
side. You can't get on from Woodbury Drive anymore. You got to circle all around. It is awful on the east side of town right now.
And you know how long they've been working on that road out there? They were doing the same thing because I go out to Woodbury to see
Yeah.
the grandkids.
Yep.
It's we finished it last year. We took all the barriers down. Now we're back. Now we're back putting up more barriers. We don't need more barriers. They're improving roads that don't need to be improved. 55, they closed a lane up here north. They're closed a lane for there's nothing wrong with the old lane. It's we're just I don't know. My theory on road repair is if there's not a pothole big enough for me to fall into, then we don't need to do it. We can just let them go. We spend all the time.
Yep.
We're we mark out when we think these roads have to be repaired, and we put them on the schedule. Even if they don't have to be repaired, they're on the schedule. And we're getting, of course, bike lanes. Don't get me started on bike lanes. What they've done they're supposed to help the environment. Are you kidding me? They're causing us more traffic jams, which got more fumes going up into the sky. It's
Transportation commissioner, I'm telling you.
Yes, I am. I am. You know, Bikers, get back on the sidewalk where you belong so the traffic can move along here. That's
The
anyway.
thing about bikers that drives me nuts now is they don't follow the rules of the
Yeah.
road.
No,
They
No.
go through
no.
stop signs. It's like I
Stop
could have
signs.
taken you out, and it's
Yep.
not my
Yes,
fault.
Yep. I
yes,
win. I'm in a car.
yes, yeah.
They don't
But the
stop.
trouble, the trouble is they're the do-gooders, and they love screaming at you.
Oh
I
yeah.
used
Yeah.
I used to walk the dog, and around, and they'd stop and scream because the leash was too long. Hey,
What?
kiss my whatever, Yeah, they want a short leash because then they wanted the dog to be they want the dog to be walking like a foot away from you. So yeah, they're not. They would have been good in Germany in the 1940s. Those bicyclists. They would have been. They
What
would have been.
infuriates
They
me
would have
about the
been. They would have been marching right into the meetings. It was unbelievable.
with the bicyclist Pat on River Parkway, the great
Yes. Oh God.
great little
Yes.
road that can get you bypassed around the downtown
Yes.
traffic. We have these awesome 2 bike lanes on the
Yes.
path, and we
Yes.
still get the Schwinn Armstrong guy
Yes. I
who's
want.
in the road going 20 miles
Yeah.
an hour, holding up the whole line of the bypass on River Parkway. Can't stand it.
I followed one of those guys up the hill to downtown the other day when I left the station. I went that way because
Yeah.
the traffic was so bad.
Yep.
And I followed one of them, and I finally gave him the beep, and he didn't like it, but I finally gave him a couple of beeps, and he moved over to the sidewalk. But he didn't want to do it.
Get off to the side. And the worst part is when you get these groups that dress
Oh
like
yes.
they're in the Tour de France and they're going down Minnetonka Boulevard, which isn't big
Yes.
enough, and they're
Yes.
all like they all think they're in some type of race.
I was on Minnetonka Boulevard yesterday and saw some of those people. I was trying to maneuver my way home, and it was because the freeway, 100 was absolutely jammed, and Louisiana was absolutely jammed. So I was trying to
You
maneuver
try
my way
every
around.
shortcut possible, Reusse.
I ended up on Minnetonka Boulevard, and they were, that was screwed up too. We got to get people back to work so we don't have as much traffic. That's my motto.
This
We
is a
got to get them back.
fantastic
We got to
idea.
get them back in the office so there's not as much traffic. Because there's just as much traffic downtown as when everybody was working.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's going on?
I don't
You're not
know.
going to work. What are you doing downtown?
I don't know, but I
Didn't it?
cut through a couple of days ago because 94 was a mess and there was a ton of traffic down there.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes you're tempted to take that Seventh Avenue when the
Yeah.
traffic is backed up from the Satan's Tunnel, as I call it,
Yep.
and then you end up you're out of luck. And then we have some of the transplanted Floridians, the things that drove me crazy about those people down there. They'd slow down to make sure they missed the light. You don't do that. You speed up to make sure we all make the light. They're dummies.
You can't stand old people. That's your
No, I
problem.
can't. I'm a much better driver than I've ever been because I'm now do not follow closely. I stay behind
That's
because I
good.
don't trust anybody anymore. But and I look around and I only come close to causing one accident a month, and I haven't had one in a long time. So
Knock on wood right there.
I'm pretty good for an old timer. But then of course we do have the racers too. If you see one guy speed by you, you know damn well there's another one coming. So look out.
Right.
To get ahead of one car. I'm gonna risk the lives of 9 people here to get ahead of one car before I get to the tunnel, where everybody's backed up. You need a helicopter to get through there, but they do it anyway. That's my. How about those twins? They look.
I was
pretty
going to
good
ask you,
today.
how about them twins?
Yeah, and Correa's okay, huh? Got it. Although I see he says he's going to play tonight. There is not one chance in hell that Rocco's going to let him play tonight, is there? Not one chance. No way. Even though he said after the game.
I
that
thought of you immediately when I saw that quote.
Yes, I'm going to play tonight.
I'm playing tomorrow. It's like, no,
he
you're
can
not.
go in and insist he's going to play. Rocco won't let him play. No way. I think we were this close to getting Brooks Lee here, though, don't you? He would have been here 4 to 6 weeks. That's the new deal now, guys. Mookie cost Mookie. A bunch of guys got hit in their hands here. What's going on? You got to get started so early, I suppose, with the way these guys are pitching. That Correa's. We don't have many guys getting hit in the head anymore. But by the way, we had Funderburk hit a guy, huh? Yesterday in the 9th inning.
Yep.
He did that. I wasn't listening on the radio because I was stuck in traffic. But anyway, but obviously he drilled the guy after 4 twins got hit in 2 days.
Yes.
Yes,
And
he did. Yeah.
did you see Lavello's quote? Lavello took
Yep.
two of his guys out because he didn't want them to get hit. So the Twins must have been yelling over the other dugout, huh? Something like that give them a hint that they weren't going to put
Yeah.
up with that anymore.
And then he Lavello did double down that we had no intention of hitting Carlos, or I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but
No, but it
same
was,
thing.
you don't intend to hit them, but you're trying to throw it on their knuckles after you've given up 13 runs. You're trying to stay off the plate. So,
And
if the guy can dodge out of the way, then you're not intentionally hitting him. But I like to see old Rocco get feisty for a moment, and because Gardy would have been throwing it the other. We would have been after him after the second guy got hit the 2 nights ago.
Yes. The problem now too is these guys throw so damn hard, and you get relievers. The same thing happened that Sunday game in Pittsburgh, where you could tell they don't exactly know where the ball's going.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is they got 5-6 pitches now, so you start. If the ball's going to be on the outer half for strike 3, you got to get started, and then there it is. You get it in the hands. But they've always been, a base object as hard as a baseball hitting you in something that has many bones in it has been high risk for 1,000 years. So anyway, and they, we obviously do a lot less throwing at each other than we used to. Take me all the way back to my all-time favorite headhunter, Early Wynn. I never really saw him pitch, but I heard him in the press room in the Twins game full of alcohol talking about throwing at guys when he was the announcer for Toronto for the early years of the team. He was great because he was just say the most nonsensical stuff. But the great Early story way back when he came up, he was a veteran anyway, and Gil McDougald was a guy who liked to dig in, dig, and he'd claw at the dirt, and he finally looked up, and Early was like 3 feet away from him, standing there looking at him and say, "You better dig that deep enough to bury you, boy, because that ball's coming right over." Didn't get thrown out of the game, just walk back to the mound. And then Drysdale, Mock always told a story about Drysdale against Richie Allen, when Richie Allen was Richie and not Dick. But he came up as a phenom with the Phillies, and Mock was his manager, and he was tearing it up. And a guy named Wes Covington, who played for the Braves later, but was the hitter. But Drysdale was catching Allen's eye in the on-deck circle, right? He just caught his eye. He kept staring at him until he caught his eye. Then he wound up and threw it directly at Wes Covington's head. And Richie never got a hit off Drysdale for about 2 years.
He didn't dig in.
Because he thought it was Drysdale's way of saying, I don't like the way you're hitting. If you were a rookie and hot, they threw at you. So it's Tony. They damn near killed Tony his first year. It was unbelievable. My favorite Tony moment is a pitcher named Phil Reagan, who later was a great reliever for the Dodgers, but he was a starter. And Tony, this is like the 5th game of his career, and he's hitting 450. He just started off that year in 64. He'd been up for 10 minutes in 63 and 62 and 63. But Reagan throws it at his face when he comes up, and Tony sprawls out and dives in the batter's box and gets up and hits it over the center fielder's head in Detroit, which was 440 feet to center field. So he didn't hit a home run, but he hit it on the next pitch. So I've talked to him about that one, and Tony will give you a good conversation. Anyway, that's so a time-honored thing of throwing at hitters doesn't occur nearly as much as it used to. That's for sure.
Pat, season halfway over now for the Twins. They played game 81 yesterday. They're 9 games over 500. They're 7 back in the Central.
Yes.
This time last year, I just looked this up to confirm. So this time last year,
right? 40 and
yep,
41.
they were 1 game under 500. It was actually game 81 last year was the infamous Joe Ryan start in Atlanta, where he gave up 4 bombs and he was pitching with a bum hamstring that he didn't tell anyone about. They were a half game up in the Central at that
Yes,
point.
at
But
under 500, they were
under
at.
500,
Yes.
leading the Central, now 9 games over 500, and chasing Cleveland, who did lose back-to-back
No,
games for
they
a
lost
rare
it.
instance.
Wasn't didn't they get like to 41 and 44 or something, and they were still in first place? I think it was.
Oh God, yeah, it was
I think
awful.
they lost. They got to 2-3 games under 500, and they were still in first place. But yeah, it's more fun that that the division's more competitive. The only one dog team in the division, really. Detroit's not terrible, and Kansas City's young and good, and they beat Cleveland last night. They can sweep this series with Cleveland, then they can take something out of them. But it's more fun. But this team is, I got to admit, better than they, Willie Castro was out there trying to play center field, running the wrong direction and stuff. And I was among those bad mouthing him and keep him out of center. He could be their MVP. He's been fantastic and played every game and started all but four, maybe all but 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Is
he's
that
been an
right?
Iron Man for him.
Declan, yeah, and he's another guy who just wants to play, and I would imagine. I wonder what Detroit's problem was. I wonder what they didn't like about him. He was, he can get into that strikeout habit, and strike out some. But that's the other thing about him lately, right, guys? He's not striking. He was the first month. He was,
Yeah.
Even though he was hanging in there average wise and stuff, he was striking out all the time.
And Buck's been fantastic
Bucks,
of
where'd
late.
this come from?
He looks
Wow.
he looks healthy too now. Finally.
And he smacked he hit a couple 3 home runs on this road trip, but he's hit about 4 others you thought might go. Man,
Oh yeah.
he's crushed it. Another thing about baseball is how deep the outfielders are playing. For most hitters, they are. It used to be you used to give tribute to the center fielder who would play shallow and take away those singles. They don't worry about taking away the singles anymore. They're taking away the doubles, and that's one reason there's so few doubles. Is the outfielders are, they get in the gap in 2 seconds because they're playing so deep. So it's I've said that outfield play is another reason there's less hitting. Just not only where they're playing, but how good they are. I mean, if traditionally way back 60s, you had a center fielder and then you had 2 lugs on the corners. That was fine. If you had a guy like Bob Allison who was a big guy who could run, that was a great thing. But most of them, you had they tell the story about the old Cubs when they had Wally Post playing left and somebody else playing right, and Wally used to leave his glove out of the left field line. He didn't even want to run in. He didn't want to carry his glove in. He didn't want to run that. He'd walk in and play left field. And he always had the big bruiser. We had Jim Lemon when the Twins first came here. He didn't last very long, but he was big guy, ambled around. Nobody thought, hey, he caught that one. That's a miracle. So
Yeah.
anyway. What about how about our guy Connolly yesterday? I'd feel bad if I was Wendell Moore Jr., wouldn't you? They trade down 16 spots to get rid of you.
Yes.
And then they wanted to get rid of the roster spot, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Do we know? So we got the 7 guys under contract. Do we know about the young guys like the Minot's under contract and the Miller kid's under contract, right? And Luca, they got to re-sign, right? So they probably won't re-sign Luca.
Yeah, I think he's a restricted, but yes, they can.
Yeah, they probably won't sign him unless he takes a million.
He should go to a place where he at least has a fighting chance to play on a regular basis.
But you got those, you got Miller and Minot, and then and then you got the 2 rookies coming in, so you're up to 11. So and he only played 9 all last year. So anyway, our guy Cam Christie got. Where Cam's going to get to play this year? I looked it up. The Clippers G League team. You know who they are? What their name's going to be next year? The San Diego Clippers.
Oh yeah, we're bringing it back.
They're moving to Oceanside, but they're rebranding themselves as the San Diego Clippers, which they were. There's a new arena in Oceanside, which is halfway down there, And but the Clippers, they were San Diego from 78 to 84, and then what was that crazy owner's name? The
Sterling,
Sterling,
Donald
yeah,
Sterling.
he didn't want to drive to San Diego, so they moved the team to L.A. and play in the sports arena. It was just he didn't like. You know what? He like me. He didn't like traffic. You know,
But he didn't have a solution. You do.
I do have a solution.
Put him
Go
back
to
at
work.
work. Everyone
Go
go.
to work.
Bosses will love you, Pat.
Yes, go to work.
This is a platform to get the offices filled back up with people who are
Yes.
forced to actually do their job now.
Hell, if we put our money together, we could buy an office building downtown if you want to.
That's
I
right.
don't know. They'll give us the bill and make your payments here, buddy. So,
Pat, if they are going to drive to work, where should they go buy a car from?
oh, yes, that's another reason I want you to be.
Yeah.
No, that's one. That's the only thing I like about traffic. There's a lot of Jim Paul and Brett Paul Valley Group of GM dealer cars in there. They're my guys. Have been my guys for 12, 13 years now, maybe more longer than that. And they're fully stocked now. There was the post pandemic. There were dealers trying to rip you off by charging more than the retail price recommended by the factories. Jim Paul and Brett Paul never did that. They always made a fair deal for you. And now they have all their stock back. They got the Yukons, they got the big machines, they got the Sierra heavy duty trucks, endless supply of SUVs come in 4 different sizes. And there's 120 cars in a lot out in Apple Valley, new ones and used ones next door. I bought several used cars from there, and friends of mine and family members have bought from there, and their used cars are great too. Jim Paul and Brett Paul Valley Group of GM dealers. Interest rates, by the way, 0.9, 1.9 if you qualify. So it's good time to buy a car, and those are good people to buy them from. Apple Valley and Hastings, the Valley Group of GM dealers.
Great stuff, sir. We will talk to you again Monday.
Sorry I was so amped up today, but
No, that was great.
But anyway, I'm doing.
We fixed the roads.
I'm trying to do a column on Sunday for Wendell and Darwitz going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And, looking back at the old stuff, man. Darwitz was on the Olympic team going into her senior year of high school.
Oh God, it's incredible.
Yeah. I'm playing with Wendell. I saw Wendell play Bantams against my nephew, who ended up playing at St. Cloud State in ECHL in Europe.
Yep.
And she'd go in the corners with him, and he'd come out second best. When she was 14, she was a fantastic.
And she was a catcher on the Little League World Series team.
12-year-old Little League team.
Brooklyn.
She was there.
Center.
Where do you put your best, most durable athlete?
Yep.
Catching. She was a catcher. She was.
What a special player.
And her daddy, Larry. Ooh, Larry was a fired up, workout fanatic guy. Man, he was great. Yeah, they were a lot of fun. She's scouting now for Pittsburgh, and I talked to Cammie Granato yesterday about him because she was the center with when they were 2 kids, for the Olympic teams. She's got a good job with the Vancouver Canucks as GM. So they were all at the draft. Why didn't we send the Judd hockey show? Should have went to the draft this year.
I'm not a big. You know what? I'm not big on the. It's too hot.
Okay.
It's too hot, and I don't really enjoy the gambling.
Okay.
There in Vegas, I don't know.
It's 103. Hey, we got to talk about this before we're done, but not today. But I was talking to Hollis about this. Golf has got a serious problem with all these people gambling instantly out on the course and then heckling guys when they miss shots or yelling at them or threatening them. It's they tried to take the cell phones away from them years ago, but they're so much part of our lives now that they can't do that. But you can.
That's a sports problem, Pat.
Yeah,
that's a sports problem too.
It's fine when we had people betting who's going to win and who's going to lose.
Right.
But now we got to. Is the next batter going to get a hit or make it out?
That's like courtside of basketball too.
Yeah. Oh God, yes.
Guy misses a free throw and start yelling at him. So
it's but they're taking the money, baby.
Of course.
All the owners taking their money. All right.
All right. We'll talk to you on Monday. See you, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Reusse Unchained. Always great. Fixing traffic.
Never know what
fixing
you're going to get,
Twins.
Dex. Never know what you're going to get.